Hello, and welcome to RV Advisors All Things RV podcast. I am your host, Kathy Conrad. I've been enjoying the RV lifestyle for over 5 years, and I love helping new RVers realize their RV dreams. This podcast is about RV education, resources, adventures, and the amazing people who love RVing. It is also about discovering the freedom RVers experience, the connection with nature that we are all so grateful for, and how RVing enriches our lives. On this podcast, you can expect us to talk about all things RV, including the good stuff, the challenging stuff, and everything in between. So join us weekly and enjoy the lineup of guests we have in store for you. Here we are, it's January already. Happy New Year. If you have been dreaming of RV camping and travel, this is a great time of year to start researching, learning, and exploring your options for an RV. I would love to help you get started on the right foot. Visit my website and schedule an RV readiness call. Let's get you started with a solid plan of action to make your way towards your RV adventures. Hey friends, and welcome back to the podcast. If you're new here, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. Today, I wanted to go over a few things that people wish that they had known before they actually bought an RV. And I might do actually a couple podcasts on this. This will be the first one because I'm finding that there are a lot of things that people didn't know when they bought that they wish they had. So today's podcast, I will start with just 3 things that people wish they knew before they bought their RV. And the first one is they wish they had known about the quality of construction or lack thereof before they bought their RV. The second, the true cost of RV ownership. And the third one, size and layout matters. So let's dive into it. One of the big things that a lot of people don't realize before they buy an RV is the quality of construction. And the quality of the materials used and the quality of the craftsmanship during assembly are what determine the overall quality of an RV. Quality control in the factory is another big factor, and not all RVs are built to last. And it can be apparent, when you are looking at RVs and you say you're at an RV show and you sit down, this is what we used to do, sit down in there and start looking around. You might see moldings coming off, cabinet doors hanging crooked, doors not hanging straight. So it's really important to research the manufacturers. They're not all the same. Join some owners' Facebook groups. Most brands, and even down to the floor plan, have an owner's Facebook group. And when you go there, you can learn a lot about what other people are experiencing in terms of problems that they're having and that sort of thing. There's a lot of value in doing that. So the owners groups can be a great source of information on particular makes and models that you may be interested in. So whatever you're thinking about, whatever's on, your top list of the brands and the models that you're interested in, hop on those groups, join them, do some reading, do some research there, ask questions. People are generally very eager to be helpful in the Facebook groups. So that can be a great resource for learning about the quality of that product. And realize too that the RV industry is very different from the auto industry as far as how they're manufactured. Automobiles are assembled with precision robotics, and RVs are built by hand, by people with varying levels of skill. And the manufacturers establish their own level of quality control. So the level of quality really varies. The lighter the materials, the lighter the weight the RV means the lower the quality. If you're looking at an ultralight, the light version of something, the only way they get the weight down is by using less quality, lighter weight materials. So that's something to keep in mind. And another big factor is the quality of the suspension system. And you don't hear too many people talk about this, but there's not a lot of, for example, travel trailers or fifth wheels out there that have a super heavy duty suspension system. Some of them, it's the axles and that's it. So that means that the RV itself takes a beating rather than a suspension system with shocks and maybe a MORRIDE, a suspension system which absorbs the movement or the holes in the road. You know, the quality of the rolls in a lot of states is really bad. And so your RV will take a beating. And realize that all RVs are manufactured, a lot of them in Indiana and other places. And the only way that they get to the dealership is with a hotshot or a person that is a professional towing person that tows these RVs from the manufacturer to the dealerships. And they're in a hurry and they go fast. And a lot of the roads across the United States are not in great shape there. So the RV takes a beating just in that trip from the manufacturer to the dealership. And maybe the dealership finds these things, you know, there again, there's good dealerships and not so good dealerships. So that's a whole nother podcast, which I'll reference some of my other podcasts in this podcast to give you a place to go for additional information. When you see it at the RV shows, you know, when stuff is falling apart, it fell apart probably on its way from the factory to the dealership and it still hasn't been put back together. So notice those things. So the quality of the materials, the quality of the craftsmanship, the quality of the suspension system, all those things, and the roads that, you know, they're driven on, and we don't have any control over that, right? So, the better quality, the better it's going to endure an off-road experience or just a really bad highway. I mean, just think of it as when you're driving, you're towing your RV down the road, there's an earthquake going on in the RV, depending on how smooth a ride it is. So that can take its toll on parts of the RV that have not been assembled in a quality manner or materials that are not of good quality. So super important. So I would reference podcast 17, and that is my interview with Talon J.O. of Outdoors RV Manufacturing in La Grande, Oregon, on what makes a quality product. And that's a really good interview, really good podcast if you're interested in learning about what makes an RV a quality RV, then I would take a listen to that one. The other thing I think that people often go into RV ownership without really researching the true cost of RV ownership because it goes way beyond just buying the rig, right? And RV prices really vary depending on what type of RV you're buying, whether it's motorized or a towable, a fifth wheel or a tow behind or a toy hauler. All those factors, you know, affect the price point. So, and what manufacturer, the size, the amenities, the components. Some components are better quality than other components. Maybe you have solid surface countertops, you know, upgraded interior. That costs additional money. There's a lot of factors that go into the price point, whether you're buying from a dealership or an individual, new or used. Motorized RVs, of course, are typically more expensive than the ones that you tow, but also realize there's a significant cost in a tow vehicle if you don't have one. So lots of things go in, and I don't know anybody who likes surprises, you know. So before you buy is really the most important time to do a lot of research on things you may not know about already. So for this, I would reference my podcast 4, which is tips for buying a used RV, and also podcast 17, which is what does a quality RV dealership look like? And that's my interview with Corinne Thompson of Thompson RV. Most people have no idea that the customer service at RV dealerships can vary hugely from one dealership to another. So researching the dealerships, and if you're going to buy from a dealership, whether new or used, you want to buy from a good quality dealership that is not just out to sell you anything. So dealership is important, but also realize that you have other options, and that's buying from an individual, which then I would highly recommend really buying new or used unless you know the dealership does a really thorough inspection of the unit once it arrives at the dealership. big proponent of having an NRVIA certified inspector, especially if you're buying used, but also if you're buying new. It sometimes is also a very good idea. And I actually have 2 podcasts with really excellent inspector. It's a 2-part series, podcasts 5 and 6, which is, everything you want to know about RV inspections and also regular maintenance and life safety, with Patrick Stiltner of the RV Academy. And those are great podcasts as well. Then besides just the RV, there are other costs involved. And, if you're going to buy a new unit at a RV dealership, you're going to be offered or maybe even pressured into buying an extended warranty, a tire protection program, a ceramic coating. I mean, there's all kinds of things that may or may not be of value to you. So it's really up to you to do your due diligence and research those different things that they offer. And they pop them on you in the buying process. But if you're going in there looking, I would ask about what other things do they offer and how much do they cost, so that you can leave knowing what that is and do some research on it and find out if it really is something that will be of value to you or not. The other thing is, when you buy an RV, it doesn't come, especially if you're buying new, right? Sometimes when you buy used from a previous owner, they may include a lot of the gadgets. If they're done RVing, they may include a lot of gadgets that you're going to need. But I think it's important that you educate yourself on what are the things that you're going to need. So, and other potential hidden costs. So for starters, there's gadgets that you need, and there's a lot before you ever hit the road in your RV that do not come with the RV, and it's additional cost. And it adds up. So it's important to know what those gadgets are. And actually, on my website, rvadvisors.net, I have an RV products and links page that you may find helpful that explains what you need, like for electrical management, sewer management, water management, what you need and why those items are important, and also links to them. I am an Amazon affiliate, but no extra cost to you if you use one of my links. It just helps to support my channel. But and it gives you a place to go to look at pictures of these things and know the prices. So it's good to have a list of the things, the costs, so that you're not surprised after you buy your RV and realize, oh my gosh, I spent so much money on that RV, and I'm going to spend a whole lot more money on all these gadgets that I did not know I would need. So research is important. So to reference other podcasts on my channel, podcast 24 is 8+ gadgets that you'll need before hitting the road. So that's a compliment to the page on my website. And my podcast 14 are just some gadgets that I can't live without. And they're a convenience thing. They're not a necessity, but they're things that, as a full-time RVer or even as a weekend warrior, have made my life easier having these gadgets. So other considerations that are going to cost money that you want to know up front is like storage. If you're not going to be parking it on your property and you're going to store it somewhere else, there's different options and different costs in that. Are you going to, is it going to be in an open area exposed to the elements? I mean, the best way you can store your RV, whether it's on your property or elsewhere, is indoors and keeping it out of the elements. It's going to extend the life of your RV, but it is also more costly. So before we were full-time, our rig was stored indoors, and they also offered some great services. We would drop it off outside the yard in a gated area. They would empty the tanks in that if we wanted them to. They offered that service. We always did that before we left a campground, but they would wash it before they'd put it away, and they would fill, of course, for the cost of the propane, but the service of doing that was free, or included in the price, I should say. They would fill our propane tanks. They would even check your tire pressure, but we have tire pressure monitors on our rigs, so take a special wrench to take those off, so we generally didn't take advantage of that, but, so there's in addition to being indoors, some places will offer additional services, um, and it keeps your rig out of the elements. The other thing that's really important is having insurance on your rig. They're expensive, you wanna have it covered if something happens, and the type of insurance you will have as a weekend warrior is going to be different than the insurance that you will want as a full-time RVer. So it's important to know the difference in those. So I will reference my podcast 32, which is RV insurance basics and weekend warriors versus full-time. It's my personal insurance agent that I've had for years that has been really, really helpful, Clark Harrell. So you can take a listen to that if you want to learn about RV insurance. It's a great podcast. Um, Also, regular maintenance is super key to keeping your RV in good working order. And people don't realize that there's just like a home, there's maintenance that you have to do. And with an RV, really, it's even more because it's moving down the road, it's exposed to the elements, it's not built like a house, so there's a lot of regular maintenance that is key to keeping your RV in good working order and extending the life of your RV. And of course, there's unexpected things that can come up that are costly as well. And repairs can be expensive. So it's a good idea to have a savings account that's for maintenance and things that come up, your yearly registration and insurance. All those things cost money, and it's always better to know what to expect and what things are going to cost so that you're prepared when they come up. And also keeping in mind, RVs are like cars. They depreciate and lose value over time, maybe even faster than a car. So moving on to the next is size and layout matter. Bigger is not always better. A large, RV, whether it's a towable or a drivable, can be more challenging, to drive or tow or to back up and, find campsites that will accommodate them. And how you plan to RV also will impact the type, size, and layout that will best serve your camping and RVing needs and your camping and RVing style. Give that one a lot of thought. That's important to know. So considerations for choosing a size and layout or type, how you RV is a big factor. So if you're part-time or full-time, do you plan to stay primarily at RV parks with full hookups, or do you plan to do more remote boondocking and going off-road? That will affect what type to get. How many people do you need sleeping space for? That comes into play for the size and your floor plan. Do you plan to camp in, a lot of national parks or older campgrounds? If so, something under 30 feet in length is going to serve you better, because older campgrounds that were built back in the day before big RVs, with slide outs and drop down decks were a thing, the campsites aren't wide enough and deep enough to accommodate a lot of the really big rigs that are on the road these days. So lots of things to think about. Now, as far as types of RVs, I would refer you to podcast number 11, which is the 9 different types of RVs. I mean, there's a lot to choose from out there just in the types, not to mention the sizes and the floor plans and the manufacturers. There's really a lot of choices out there. So it's really good to go into your buying experience as a super educated consumer, knowing what you want, what you're going to use it for, how are you going to travel, how much are you going to be going out. All those things come into play. So lots to think about, folks. It's a very exciting thing to get an RV. It's a great lifestyle. It's a great way to travel. I just think that the more you know, the better. It helps you to make better educated decisions and to make the right purchase the first time. You'd be surprised how many people go into it and they make an impulsive decision and they get out and they start traveling and going places and they realize, oh, this isn't really working out all that great for us. It would have been so much less expensive and better to make the right decision the first time. So that means taking your time, educating yourself, doing your due diligence before you jump in and make that big investment in an RV. So, anyway, I hope you found this helpful today. I will be doing another podcast on other things that people have expressed to me that they wish that they knew before they bought an RV. So, thanks for joining me today, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in today to RV Advisors All Things RV podcast. Please join us again next week for more RV education, resources, adventures, and interesting people. Until then, wishing you amazing adventures, safe travels, and I hope to see you on the road.